Okay, hi everyone. Welcome to our lecture. It's going to be on Git and GitHub this time. So yeah, let's get started. So we're just going to explain what Git and GitHub is. So Git is a distributed version control system, and GitHub is what hosts all your software development projects on the internet. So for example, Google Drive, you can host all of your like documents and like files on Google Drive, and that's on the internet. But GitHub is like similar, but for coding. And so you can store all of your coding projects and other people can see your coding projects and like contribute to them, etc.
Wait, can we poll real quick? Who has used Git? Raise your hands. Okay, a lot. Who has used GitHub? Okay, wait, a lot of people. Okay.
Okay. So this should be kind of like a review. So basically, a version control system records changes made in code over time. So this is done in a special database called a repository. So whenever you make a new project, you're going to make a new like repository, and that's where you put in all of your changes to your code. And other people can push to the same repository, and then you can merge your changes. And it's easier for like multiple collaborators on the same project to just like work on the same project. Yeah. So for example, Google Docs, you can see the history, the version history, and you can see exactly what people have, like exactly the edits that different people have done. So similarly, GitHub also has these like edits and it's called commits. So you can see like this is what it would look like in GitHub. You'd see like each commit made by a different person, like a different user. And then, so what's like the point of version control? Let's say like me and Josh are working on the same app. So we're all like currently we're on version 1.1 like on each of our computers, right? But what if Josh is working on a new feature and he makes that version 1.2? So he has that newest version on his computer, but for my computer, I still have version 1.1. So like there's no like clear way to for him to like give me like all his changes like very well if there's no version control. Yeah, like it's you can do it by email or airdrop or text, but that just like gets really messy and it's easy to get a lot of bugs. So a clean version to do that is using GitHub and Git. So we're gonna test that out. So make sure you guys have Git installed and um
Who hasn't used Git before? 1, 2, 3. Okay. Is it you?
what's the command?
For what?
Don't they need a download Git on the
Install? I don't know. I mean, who's used brew?
Yeah, just make sure that you have an account on GitHub. So you can either like make an account with your school email or your personal email. I would recommend on your personal email because like Cornell email, like you have to go through authentication every time and it's really annoying.
So the Cornell email, Cornell has their own like GitHub organization. It's part of like GitHub Enterprise. So if you use your Cornell email, you'll be inside the Cornell like organization automatically. For some courses like 3410, like 3110, they'll actually use that for their classes because it's easier to manage. But in this case, just use your personal, I would recommend. I mean, you can use your school, but if you have a personal, just use that. Yeah.
Yeah. So once you're like logged in with a personal email, you can create a new repository. So we can like name this Hello World, for example. And oh, yeah. So this is where your repository name is going to be. And then you can choose to make it public or private, doesn't really matter, unless you're like sharing your code with someone else.
You guys don't have to do this right away. This is like if you want to, you can, but this is just to show you how to set up a GitHub repo, which I assume most of you already know how to do. So
Yeah, so just make that and then
We want to
Wait, open it up on,
want to clone it.
yeah,
Yeah. Let me do this one.
yeah.
Here's my laptop. Right. So once you set up your Git repo, it's empty currently. So if I mean, usually you have a project that you want to place inside your repo, or like this is your repository. You want to put like a project in here. But right now I don't have a project yet, so I'm just gonna try and open this up locally. So the thing about GitHub and Git is GitHub is like the centralized online version of Git. So what I can do here is I can clone it to my local. So because this is on GitHub's website, I can take this link, and you can actually follow your instructions here. So you have a project, you can do git init. This is a command on the terminal. Git init will initialize git inside your repository. I mean inside your command line. For example, I can go like make a new thing here. Let me just do it in my downloads. So I'm gonna yeah, it's gonna go into my downloads. Oh, there's a lot. Okay. I'm gonna make a new directory. Let's say hello world. I'm gonna cd into the directory. Nothing inside of it. And here I can like initialize a Git repository. Actually, let's make a dummy code file. So let's open it up in VS Code using this command. So this it is. This is the VS Code. Yes, here. And here, let me just make a random text file. Let's say like i.txt. This is a random text file, and I'm gonna put like random text there. So now inside my folder here, in my hello world folder, if I list everything, you can see the height.txt. This is just dummy files. And to use Git, I can just first do git init. When I do this, it will initialize an empty Git repository in this folder. So it'll start like a tracking system, which is what Git is, to track all the files and all the history, all my changes in this folder. And as you can see, if I go back to VS Code, you can see it's turned green. That means like I've added a file. The next command is git. I mean, you don't have to add a README. A README is essentially like a documentation. You can tell people what this project is about. I can make one really quick. Let's add README. Is that correct syntax? Oh, README.md. Oh, we don't have one yet, so let me just make one. README.md. So readme.md, readme is just the name of the file. MD stands for Markdown, which is a type of file format where you can have like if you guys ever use Notion, you have stuff like headers like this. And when you render these, it will show up as like a header instead of just normal text. This is normal text. And you can have like bigger headers. If you want a bigger header, this is a bigger header. Like stuff like that. But Markdown is essentially a type of file format, which you can render into something like Notion, if you imagine it. But this is a README. Usually you have documentation here. So like you can have like hello world project or something. And then you can have like this project uses XXX, like tech stack, blah, blah, blah. Stuff like that. So now I have a README. This is just for documentation of this project. And then what I can do is I can do git add README. I can just go on like this. And that will add the README into the staging environment, which you want to talk about first, or
Yeah.
let's go back to it. So
Yeah. So basically, you can either, okay, wait. So basically the architecture is three different things. So you have your project directory, which is this like what you have in this VS Code on your local computer, and then you have your staging area, and then your Git repository, which is whatever you have here like on the GitHub website. So this is kind of like a diagram. So you see project directory, staging area, and Git repository. So how this essentially works is that you're making changes on your project directory on your local computer. So like for example, Josh, like put hi.txt, that would be an example of a change you would make in your project directory. And how do you actually transfer all your changes to the Git repository, which is what is like on the internet basically.
That's not internet, it's local.
Oh,
Yeah.
oh, never mind. Yeah. And then, so to add your changes to the staging area, you have to use this command, git add, and then whatever file you want to add to the staging area. So in this example, to Josh he did git add readme.md, which just adds the readme file to the staging area. And if you want to add like all of the changes you've done, like you don't want to just list out all of the files, you can just do git add and then add a period, and that would just add all of the files that you changed. So in this case, it would add both hi.txt and readme since we changed those files. And then once that's in the staging area, you want to commit these changes. So this is going to be the command that you use, git commit -m. And -m just means like, oh, I'm going to put a message. So then after -m, you just write whatever message you want to write that explains the changes that you made. So for example, here I can do git commit -m, and then I can do like initial changes. Something like that just to describe the changes you've made. So then you can see like it basically describes this commit. There's two files that were changed, readme and hi.txt. And then like more specifically what changed. So then once it's committed, yeah, it's like in your local repository. And then now, yeah, I made a mistake. This is your local repository, and then this is the one that's on the internet. So now you have to connect your local changes to the ones that to the repository on the internet. And to do that, you do git push. So git push just pushes all your commits to the like remote repository. But yeah. And then in this case, we have to like connect, basically it explains how to connect what I have here to this specific repository because I want to like point my Git repository on my local computer to this specific repository that I have. So then you can honestly just copy these commands. And then you can see that I successfully pushed all my changes to the remote repository. And then if I go up I refresh my code, you can see that it appears on the repository that I've made on GitHub. So yeah, do you want to say anything else?
Does this make sense? Like, who's like confused? Because I know when I took the course, I didn't know anything about Git, so I was like really confused when they taught this content. Like, genuinely, who is like doesn't understand what's going on? Because I'll try and explain using this diagram. If everyone gets it, I'm not gonna try and explain more. Does anyone like want me to explain this? Yes. Okay, let me do it again. This looks like a lot of like random code, right? So the way I'll explain is this visually, because I'm also a visual learner. Project directory is whatever you have on your laptop. So all of these three is on my laptop, and GitHub, this is the online version. So separate that from your laptop. My laptop, we have the three things. We have project directory, which is my folder. I can add files here like hi.txt, for example, which is what I did. And I can add like a readme, me.md. And how I get this into the staging area is I do git add. So the command is git add. Just going to draw arrows so it's nice. And git add is just to move it from your folder so that your local Git can keep track of it, can start keeping track of it. If you don't add it, it won't start keeping track of it. So once I add these to the staging area, we are essentially starting to track the files in the staging area here. And then once you've added them, the next step is to move it to your local Git. The full tracking system, you're trying to commit it here. That's why you do git commit. And then you can add a little message of what you're committing. So like if you're like updating something or you're changing something, you can have -m, which is the commit message, and you can put your commit message. You can like name your commit basically. So every time you want to add something in your local Git, you have to go through this process. You have to add it, you have to commit it, and then you have your commits here. So like you can have like a bunch of like #1, then number 2, stuff like that. So this is how we track your project locally on your laptop. Forget about GitHub for now. This is just on your laptop. So what happened here was we initialized git init was creating this entire system. We're saying we want the system to like appear in this folder, which happened. And then you can see the first one we did was we add readme. So we actually added this file and only this one. And then in front here, I think Lauren added all. So git that add dot stands for just like everything inside your directory. So everything inside this folder. We added that to the staging area. And then git commit initial changes. That's when we moved it from the staging area to the actual Git repo. So we move all this here into our first commit, and we named it initial changes. And then the rest of the stuff here, git branch, git remote, git push. This is what you do to like push your code locally on your laptop and move it to the internet. So git branch main, that just means we have a nice diagram about this, but like how Git tracks your code is we have a bunch of trees. You can imagine it as trees. I have this slide for it here. Where is it? Like this. So if different people work on the same project, they want to do different features. Like Lauren can work on this, I can work on this. And how we combine them later is we merge them to the main branch. So like that's why we call them branches, because there are many like there are many like branches of the tree. So what that code did, I mean, this command, git branch, where's my cursor? Oh, git branch main is just to make sure we're on the main line. Make sure we're on this main branch. And then the next one, git remote at origin. This is the line that we use to connect. We use it to connect our local and our GitHub on the internet. That's why we had the URL here, see? So we're adding a remote Git repository. In this case, we're using GitHub. And we're adding the origin. We're adding the location of where our remote repository is. And that's why we have like this URL here. And then the last step is once you connected it, you just do git push -u origin main. So you're pushing all your code from your local, you're pushing it to the internet with the location that you already given it. And you're setting again the origin, you're setting it to be like the main branch. Again, we're just saying it once again. Yeah.
Are you able to like decommit or like delete stuff from the
Decommit.
Yeah, there's a command to
It's
do
only
it.
online.
Yes. So you can do like you can remove commits here. I believe you can also remove commits there, but it's just remember it's separate. That's why the whole process involves you like working in your own environment in your laptop, and maybe someone else has their own laptop there, and then syncing using the online version. That's why we have this thing in the cloud, is so we can sync everyone's work. Question?
Like when do you choose to like add to the staging area, and like when you choose to like commit to the refund, like when do you choose to like push it? Like is it like once you're kind of done with everything, you just like do it?
Yeah, so it really depends. If you like working on a feature, for example, let's say I want to add let me think of a backend thing. I want to add a new route, for example, a new endpoint. I would first work on it in my code editor, and then once I'm done, then I'll just add it and commit it. Usually adding and commit is like a package, like I'll add and then I'll commit right away. And maybe I won't push because I'm just adding and committing like this route. And then maybe I'll work on another route, like a post route, for example. Then I'll add and commit it again. And when you push, you can push a bunch of commits. You don't have to push only once. You're pushing whatever is different here and here. So pushing is essentially like you're trying to get all the changes you made locally and sync it up with the one online. Yeah. Does that answer your question?
Yes.
Yeah. When you use it, I think you'll have more sense for it. Like usually, I mean, at least for me, is it same for you? Like add and commit, usually like a
Yeah,
package.
usually I would push to like GitHub when I completed a feature and I want like someone else to review it or like someone else to like merge it to the main like app.
Yep. So-
Yeah.
Origin is this it's a keyword in the term like in the terminal. We use it to like set the origin, like where is our online version of our repo. It's a bit confusing because they're both like Git repos, but this one's online and this one's local. So the origin is this to tell it like the location, the origin of where you want to push, where you want to put your local stuff onto the cloud is that link here. This is the origin. So if you want to see what it looks like, if I do git remote -v, this will show me where my local is pointing to. So you can see like origin, they're both the same, but there are two origins, one for fetch, one for push. Fetching is like whenever I want, imagine Lauren has another laptop, like she has another laptop here. Here's her code. She pushed something to the online and mine is not updated. That's where I want to fetch. I take the data here and I bring it to my local. So it's updated. That's the origin for fetch. And for pushing is whatever I said is now, we push to this location. So technically you could have two different ones. So like I could push to something else, but I could fetch from something else. So that's what origin means. Does that make sense? Yeah.
So I have two questions. One of them is, where do the messages appear in the Git?
Mhm.
And also, whenever another person needs to change,
Mhm.
when they push, they somehow change the repository on the server.
Yeah.
Like, does that affect your local rep, or how do you like, import those changes?
You want to answer?
Yeah.
You can take turns.
So for your first question, where's the message appearing? Yeah, so you saw before that I messaged the commit like initial changes, so that would appear like here, right next to the files that I committed. And then you asked like what happens if, for example, this is Josh's computer, what happens if I make changes and I push that to the GitHub? Will Josh like immediately receive those changes on his laptop? The answer is no. You have to manually like pull the changes from the remote repository. So, for example, if I like add a new text file and I push it to GitHub, and for Josh to have that new change on his own laptop, he has to basically pull these changes, and that's a different command. Here. Oh, yeah. So to pull all the commits from the remote repository, use git pull. So that basically just syncs your local like project to be like the most updated project. So then before you make any changes, it's very good practice to do git pull to make sure that you're working on the most updated version of the project. Does that make sense? Yeah. Yes.
What is that different from Git?
Yeah, so git pull is also doing, okay, git pull is fetching the changes and merging it with your local repository. But git fetch is only like basically downloading the changes in the remote repository. So it's just downloading the changes but not doing anything with it. So if you want to use git fetch, you would use git fetch to download the changes and then use git merge to merge it with your local version. But git pull is just like doing both of those things at once. So it's just like a lot easier. Yeah. That was a good question. Um,
Did we finish the slide?
there's like branches and like merge. Yeah, so a common thing that people do when you're working on the same project with other collaborators is to make a branch. So, like in this example, we just like made sure we were on the main branch. But usually, if you're working with multiple people, you want to make your own branch. So for example, if I'm working on one feature, I'm gonna name that, like if I'm working on like route 1, then I would name my branch route 1. And then Josh would name, like if he's working on route number 2 or feature number 2, he would name his branch like feature number 2 or like Josh. And so we're working on separate branches. You can see like I would be like the purple and then Josh could be like the green. So we're working on different branches, which makes sure that like our changes aren't like I don't know, messing with each other. And then after we like push those changes to the GitHub, it'll push to like different branches. So here there's only one branch, the main branch, but if like you can make new branches, if I make like a branch feature 1, it would appear there and it would be separate from the main branch. And then if you want to merge these branches, a common practice that people do in organizations is doing pull requests. So once I basically push all my changes to my own branch on GitHub, I want to make a pull request, or for short, it's called a PR. So this is for merging your branch with the main branch. So when you're making the PR, it's good practice to request reviewers. So you don't want to like merge your branch automatically without anyone else like reviewing your code because you could like make a mistake. And then if you merge your branch to the main branch, it could just make everything crash. So you want other people to also review your code and approve your PR before it can be merged with the branch.
Demo.
Yeah. So for example,
Yeah.
I can do git checkout.
Branch first. Get branch.
Okay.
Yeah.
So git branch just shows what branch I'm on. So I'm on the main branch. So if I want to check out or like make a new branch, I can do git checkout -b and then like name that, I don't know, Lauren. So you can see I switched to a new branch called Lauren. If I do git branch again, you can see now there's 2 branches, Lauren and main, but I'm on Lauren. So then if I want to like change this hi to like hello, and then I save that. So I made changes. I want to add those changes to my staging area, right?
Get status.
Oh yeah. So if you want to see like the status of your staging area or like the system, you can do git status. So you can see I modified hi.txt, but it's in red because it's not added to the staging area yet. So it says no changes were added to commit. So then if I want to add it to the staging area, I could just do either git add dot or git hi.txt, but I usually just do git add dot. And then you can see the git status, it's in green now because that means it's in my staging area. Okay, and then the next step is to commit it. So git commit, I can do like second commit. So now you can see like I've changed one of the files, I inserted 2 lines, etc. And so now it's committed. And then if I want to push, I just do git push. Oh. Yeah, so I did git push origin Lauren because I want to push it to my branch, which is Lauren. Yeah. And then if I go back to my GitHub, you can see Lauren had recent pushes 1 second ago. So you can see view all branches that I have a new branch here called Lauren, and this has all of the changes that I made. So you can go into hi.txt. you can see this is the change I made. And so here it basically is telling me to make a pull request. So compare and pull request. Here is where I would write, oh, like I added this line because of this, this, and this. And then if I want to add a reviewer, usually would show up if like multiple people are added to this GitHub, but it's only me, so you can't. And then basically you create this pull request, and then, for example, someone else approved it already, and then I would just merge the pull request here. And then it was successful. So then here you can see my second commit worked. So you can see my most recent changes. Hello, Lauren was here. Yeah. So that's like kind of how like people working on the same app, how they would push to the same GitHub, and then how they would basically separate their work and then merge it together to the main branch. And then the last thing is merge conflicts. So you saw there when I created the pull request, it was green because, and it told me like I could merge it if I wanted to. It's green because there's no merge conflicts. But there could be a merge conflict if the main branch was edited before for example, I like pulled all the changes, right? And then I made my own changes. I pushed it to the branch. But during that time, Josh made changes and then pushed that to the main branch, like already merged it. So main is different than what I have. So then that could like result in a conflict. So a conflict arises when multiple people change the project at the same time. So basically you have to kind of like fix the conflict before you're able to merge it. So you have to do that manually most of the time. Yeah, Git will try to figure it out, but most of the time you'll have to manually resolve them on your own like project first, before merging it. Yeah. Does anyone have any questions so far? Okay. Do you want to do your
Let me walk through an example of a conflict just to like visualize it. So imagine this is what we have on GitHub, which is a remote one. This is my laptop, and this is Lauren's laptop. So this is all it's all like work on one file. The one file we're working on is this py.txt. We're all working on this one file. So initially, let's say this had this high, and then my laptop I pulled, so I made sure it's the same version as the remote. So I have high now, and Lauren also pulled, so she also has high. And then let's say I made a change. So what I did was let me just change this to like hello instead. And then let's say Lauren also push it. Let's say you change it to like 5 or something. We both changed it, but we haven't pushed it to the remote one, right? So when I push it first, and I push and I push my code, like I did all these steps. I just added commit and I pushed it to the repo here. This will become hello. And in this case, wait, this isn't do it. Yeah. What's a better way now? Well, in this case, yeah, then you just push this and you just override it. What's a good example? Okay, let's scrap this. I'll think of a better example later, and I'll show you guys. Yeah, I should do the demo. Wait, yeah, you have a question?
What if she, like, if you had a variable and you changed it and then you pushed it, and what if she tries to access it? Does that result in a conflict?
If I have a variable and I push the variable,
You change the variable,
Mhm.
say X equals 5, and then change it to Y.
yeah, then that would be a conflict.
She tries to say X equals, and now there's X.
Yeah. That will be, that's a good example of a conflict. Yeah, question?
If Lauren tried to pull like right as it is now, wouldn't that create a conflict?
Yeah, that will create a conflict. Okay, wait, I should just use that again. Wait, so in this, yeah, in this case, if Lauren tried to push her by to this new hello, because her local only has history from like changing from hi to bye, but here's all these hello. If she tried to push, this wouldn't work. So then what she would have to do is first pull from here to bring it here. So she would pull this code here. But now hello is trying to override bye. So you have hello and bye on line 1, which are like different texts on the same line. So this is a merge conflict because you're trying to merge these two versions and they're different. So what you have to manually do is you have to pick what you want on line 1. You have to pick either you want hello or you want bye. And let's say like Lauren wants her version, so she picks bye, then she can push it and resolve the merge conflict without any of this. So she can resolve the merge conflict, and now this is finally bye. Like that. Does that make sense? That's what you meant, right? Yeah. Yeah.